Right now, as you're listening to these words, your mind is being controlled not by me, not by some external force, but by patterns, programs, and mental habits that were installed in your brain years ago without your permission. Most people live their entire lives as prisoners in their own minds, reacting instead of responding, being driven by emotions instead of directing them, and following thought patterns that lead them further away from the life they actually want. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about the mind is wrong? What if the very idea that you can't control your thoughts, that you're stuck with the personality you have, that your emotional reactions are just who you are, is nothing more than a lie that keeps you trapped in mediocrity? The truth is this: your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, but only if you learn how to own it completely. Not partially, not sometimes, but with absolute unwavering control. The greatest achievers in history, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most resilient individuals, they all share one common trait. They own their minds completely. They don't let their minds own them. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you think about thinking itself. This isn't another self-help approach filled with surface-level tips. This is a complete rewiring of your mental operating system. By the time you finish this journey, you will have the ability to control your thoughts with precision, direct your emotions like a conductor directing an orchestra, and reprogram any limiting belief that has ever held you back. Most people will never experience true mental freedom because they believe the myth that the mind is too complex to control. They accept whatever thoughts arise, react to whatever emotions surface, and wonder why their lives feel chaotic and unfulfilled. But you're different. You're here because you understand that mental mastery is not just possible. It's essential for creating the life you truly want. The mind you have right now was shaped by your past experiences, your environment, and other people's opinions. But the mind you're about to build will be shaped by your conscious choice, your deliberate practice, and your unwavering commitment to excellence. This is your declaration of independence from mental slavery. This is how you reclaim complete ownership of the most important real estate you'll ever possess, your own mind. Chapter 1: The Mental Prison System. Most people are living in a mental prison and they don't even know it. They wake up every day, go through the same thought patterns, react to situations in predictable ways, and wonder why their lives never seem to change. The reason is simple: they've been conditioned to be mental slaves, not mental masters. This mental prison system begins forming the moment you're born. Every experience, every comment from parents, teachers, and peers, every success and failure gets encoded into your subconscious mind as a belief about reality. By the age of 7, the majority of your core beliefs about yourself, other people, and the world are already locked in place. And here's the crucial part: most of these beliefs were never consciously chosen by you. Think about your current mental patterns. When you face a challenge, what's your first thought? When someone criticizes you, how do you react when you encounter an opportunity? Do you think about possibilities or problems first? These responses aren't random. They're the result of mental programming that was installed in your mind before you had the awareness to choose differently. The prison has several key components that keep people trapped. First is the victim mindset, where you believe that external circumstances control your internal state. When something happens to you, you automatically assume it determines how you should feel and what you should think. This gives away your power to random events and other people's actions. Second is the limitation programming. You've been taught to focus on what's not possible, what you can't do, what you're not good at. Society conditions you to be realistic, which usually means accepting mediocrity and abandoning your biggest dreams. Every time you say, "I can't," "It's impossible," or "I'm not the type of person who," you're reinforcing the walls of your mental prison. Third is the comparison trap. Your mind has been trained to constantly measure yourself against others, leading to either superiority or inferiority complexes. Both are forms of mental slavery because they make your self-worth dependent on external validation rather than internal mastery. Fourth is the emotional reactivity cycle. Most people believe that emotions just happen to them, that they have no choice in how they feel. They think anger, Fear, sadness, and anxiety are forces beyond their control. This belief creates a life of emotional chaos where your mood determines your decisions and your feelings dictate your actions. The most insidious part of this mental prison is that it's invisible. The bars are made of thoughts and beliefs, so you can't see them. The guards are your own mental habits, so you don't realize they're keeping you locked up. And the worst part is that many people become so comfortable in their mental prison that they start defending it. They argue for their limitations, justify their fears, and protect their victim stories. But here's what the prison system doesn't want you to know. The door has always been unlocked. You have the key to your own freedom. And that key is conscious awareness. The moment you realize that your thoughts are not you, that your emotions are not facts, and that your beliefs are not permanent truths, you begin to see the prison for what it really is. An illusion that only has power as long as you believe in it. The first step to mental freedom is recognizing that you've been living in a trance. Every automatic thought, every emotional reaction, every limiting belief is evidence that your mind has been running on autopilot. But autopilot is not your natural state. It's a learned helplessness that can be unlearned. Mental ownership begins with this radical realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker. You are not your emotions. You are the one experiencing them. You are not your beliefs. You are the one who can choose to believe differently. This distinction is the foundation of all mental mastery because it puts you back in the driver's seat of your own mind. The moment you understand that every thought can be questioned, every emotion can be managed, and every belief can be changed, you stop being a victim of your own mind and start becoming its master. The prison walls begin to crumble, not because they were never real, but because you finally see that you've always had the power to walk through them. Chapter 2. The Awareness Revolution. Awareness is the most powerful force in human consciousness. Yet most people live in a state of complete mental unconsciousness. They operate on autopilot, reacting to life instead of creating it, following mental patterns instead of directing them. The awareness revolution begins when you wake up from this unconscious trance and start observing your mind with the clarity of a scientist studying a fascinating subject. True awareness means becoming the witness to your own mental processes. Instead of being caught up in your thoughts, you step back and watch them arise. Instead of being overwhelmed by emotions, you observe them with curiosity. Instead of being controlled by impulses, you notice them before they control you. This shift from participant to observer is the most important transformation you can make. Most people identify completely with their mental content. When they have an angry thought, they believe they are angry. When they experience fear, they become the fear. When they think a limiting thought, they accept it as truth. But awareness creates space between you and your mental content. You begin to see thoughts as mental events, not commands. You recognize emotions as temporary experiences, not permanent states. You understand impulses as suggestions, not orders. The first level of awareness is cognitive awareness, which means becoming conscious of your thought patterns. Start noticing the quality of your thoughts throughout the day. Are they mostly positive or negative? Do they focus on problems or solutions? Are they about the past, present, or future? Do they expand your possibilities or limit them? Most people have never done this basic mental inventory, which is why they remain trapped in unconscious thinking patterns. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. The average person has between 50, 0, and 70, 0 thoughts per day, and for most people, the majority of these thoughts are repetitive, negative, or completely useless. You have a voice in your head that's constantly commenting, judging, worrying, and planning. This voice is not you. It's a mental habit that can be observed, controlled, and ultimately mastered. The second level is emotional awareness. Emotions are information, not instructions. They tell you something about your current state, your needs, or your environment. But they don't have to determine your actions. Start noticing how emotions arise in your body. Where do you feel anger? How does anxiety manifest physically? What does excitement feel like in your chest? This bodily awareness helps you catch emotions early before they spiral out of control. Most people are emotional unconscious. They react to feelings without understanding what triggered them, why they arose, or what purpose they serve. Emotional awareness means recognizing the patterns that create different emotional states. You start to notice that certain thoughts lead to certain feelings, certain environments affect your mood, and certain people influence your emotional state in predictable ways. The third level is behavioral awareness. Your actions reveal your true mental programming more than your conscious thoughts do. Start observing your behaviors with curiosity rather than judgment. What do you do when you're stressed? How do you handle conflict? What patterns do you repeat in relationships? How do you respond to opportunities and challenges? Your behaviors are the external expression of your internal mental patterns. Awareness also means recognizing your unconscious programs and scripts. These are automated responses that you've developed over years of repetition. You have programs for how to handle criticism, how to deal with failure, how to respond to success, how to interact with authority figures, and hundreds of other situations. Most of these programs were installed when you were young and haven't been updated since. The power of awareness lies in its ability to create choice. When you're unconscious, you have no choice. You simply react according to your programming. But when you're aware, you create space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom to choose differently. You can observe a thought without believing it, feel an emotion without being controlled by it, notice an impulse without acting on it. Developing awareness requires practice and patience. Your mind has been running on autopilot for years or decades. So, it takes time to develop the mental muscle of conscious observation. Start with just a few minutes each day of simply watching your thoughts without trying to change them. Notice when your mind wanders into the past or future. Observe when you slip into judgment or criticism. See how often you identify with your mental content instead of watching it. The awareness revolution is not about stopping thoughts or eliminating emotions. It's about changing your relationship to them. Instead of being at the mercy of whatever arises in your mind, you become the conscious director of your mental experience. You realize that you have the power to choose which thoughts to focus on, which emotions to cultivate, and which behaviors to express. This revolution in consciousness is the foundation of all personal transformation. You cannot change what you're not aware of, and you cannot master what you don't understand. But once you develop the skill of awareness, every other aspect of mental mastery becomes possible. You gain the ability to reprogram any belief, master any emotion, and direct your mind toward any goal you choose. Chapter 3. The Thought Architecture System. Your thoughts are the raw material of your reality. Every achievement, every relationship, every experience in your life began as a thought in your mind. Yet most people treat their thoughts like random weather patterns, something that happens to them rather than something they can control and direct. The thought architecture system is about becoming the conscious architect of your mental landscape. Understanding how thoughts work is crucial to mastering them. Thoughts are not solid objects. They're electrochemical impulses firing across neural networks in your brain. They arise, peak, and fade away, usually within seconds. The problem is that most people grab onto thoughts, especially negative ones, and replay them endlessly. They turn temporary mental events into permanent mental residence. Your brain generates thoughts automatically based on your past experiences, current environment, and habitual patterns. But here's the key insight. Just because a thought arises doesn't mean it's true, useful, or worth your attention. Your mind is like a radio that picks up multiple stations. Most people have no idea how to change the channel, so they listen to whatever mental static happens to be playing. The first principle of thought architecture is selective attention at any moment. Thousands of potential thoughts could arise in your mind. You cannot control which thoughts appear, but you have complete control over which thoughts you focus on and develop. Attention is like a spotlight. It illuminates whatever you point it at and leaves everything else in darkness. Most people focus their attention randomly or reactively. They think about whatever grabs their attention first, usually problems, worries, or distractions. But mental masters are strategic about their attention. They consciously choose thoughts that serve their goals, support their values, and move them toward their desired outcomes. The second principle is thought replacement. You cannot simply stop thinking negative thoughts through willpower alone, because trying not to think about something actually makes you think about it more. Instead, you replace unwanted thoughts with chosen thoughts. When you notice your mind wandering into worry, you deliberately redirect it towards solutions. When you catch yourself in self-criticism, you consciously shift to self-improvement. This requires having a mental library of empowering thoughts ready to use. Instead of hoping that positive thoughts will randomly appear, you prepare them in advance. Create a collection of thoughts about your goals, your capabilities, your values, and your vision for the future. When negative or useless thoughts arise, you immediately replace them with thoughts from your empowering library. The third principle is thought amplification. Not all thoughts are created equal. Some thoughts energize you, inspire you, and move you toward your goals. These are the thoughts you want to amplify. Other thoughts drain you, discourage you, and pull you away from what you want. These are the thoughts you want to minimize. Amplifying empowering thoughts means giving them more attention, more emotional energy, and more repetition. When you have a thought about an exciting possibility, you don't just notice it and move on. You explore it, expand it, and feel the emotions associated with it. You turn a spark of inspiration into a flame of motivation. The fourth principle is thought programming. Your mind accepts whatever thoughts you consistently feed it as instructions for how to operate. If you consistently think thoughts of limitation, your mind will look for evidence of limitation and create experiences that confirm those thoughts. If you consistently think thoughts of possibility, your mind will seek opportunities and generate creative solutions. This is why successful people don't just think positively occasionally. They systematically program their minds with thoughts that support their success. They understand that their habitual thoughts become their mental operating system, determining what they notice, how they interpret events, and what actions they take. The fifth principle is thought quality control. Not every thought that arises deserves your attention or energy. Just as you wouldn't eat every piece of food that was offered to you, you shouldn't accept every thought that appears in your mind. Develop standards for your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it useful? Does it move me toward my goals? Does it serve my highest good? When a thought doesn't meet your standards, you don't fight it or judge it. You simply don't feed it attention. You let it arise and fade away naturally while you focus on thoughts that deserve your mental energy. This is not positive thinking. It's strategic thinking. The thought architecture system also involves understanding thought triggers. Certain environments, people, activities, and times of day trigger predictable thought patterns. If you want to think differently, you may need to change your environment or your habits. If being around certain people triggers negative thoughts, limit your exposure. If certain activities lead to productive thoughts, do more of them. You can also create thought triggers deliberately. Use specific music, images, quotes, or environments to trigger the mental states you want to experience. Professional athletes do this all the time. They have specific routines, songs or visualizations that trigger peak performance states. You can do the same for any area of your life. Remember that changing your thought patterns takes time and consistency. Your current thought habits were formed over years of repetition. So don't expect to change them overnight. But with persistent practice, you can literally rewire your brain to default to empowering thoughts. Instead of limiting ones, the ultimate goal is to become the conscious architect of your mental landscape. Instead of accepting whatever thoughts randomly appear, you deliberately cultivate thoughts that serve your vision, support your goals, and create the internal experience you want to have. Your thoughts become tools that you use intentionally rather than forces that use you. Chapter 4. Emotional Sovereignty. Most people are emotional slaves. They allow their feelings to dictate their decisions, their moods to control their actions, and their emotional reactions to determine the quality of their lives. They believe that emotions are forces beyond their control, that they simply happen to them like the weather. But this is one of the most limiting beliefs you can hold because it makes you a victim of your own emotional experience. Emotional sovereignty means taking complete ownership of your emotional life. It means understanding that while you may not be able to control what emotions arise, you have complete control over how you respond to them, how long you experience them, and what you do while you're feeling them. Emotional masters don't let emotions control them. They direct their emotions like a conductor directing an orchestra. The first step to emotional sovereignty is understanding what emotions actually are. Emotions are not mysterious forces. They're psychophysiological responses to your thoughts and interpretations of events. Every emotion you experience is created by your nervous system in response to how you perceive and think about what's happening. This means that your emotions are not caused by external events. They're caused by your internal responses to external events. This distinction is crucial because it puts you back in control. If your emotions were directly caused by outside circumstances, you would be powerless to change them. But since your emotions are caused by your interpretations and thoughts, you can change how you feel by changing how you think about and perceive situations. Most people experience emotions reactively. Something happens, they automatically interpret it in a certain way, and then they feel whatever emotion that interpretation creates. They never question their interpretation or consider alternative ways of viewing the situation. They accept their first emotional reaction as truth and then act from that emotional state. Emotional sovereignty requires developing the ability to pause between trigger and response. When something happens that normally would create an automatic emotional reaction, you create space to consciously choose your response. You ask yourself, how am I interpreting this situation? Is this interpretation accurate? Is it helpful? Are there other ways to view what's happening? The second principle of emotional sovereignty is emotional awareness. You cannot manage what you don't understand. Most people are emotionally illiterate. They can barely identify what they're feeling, let alone understand why they're feeling it or how to change it. Emotional sovereignty requires developing a sophisticated understanding of your emotional patterns. Start by expanding your emotional vocabulary. Instead of just feeling good or bad, learn to identify specific emotions. Are you feeling frustrated, disappointed, overwhelmed, anxious, or angry? Each emotion provides different information and requires different responses. The more precisely you can identify your emotions, the more effectively you can work with them. Notice your emotional triggers. What situations, people or thoughts tend to create strong emotional reactions? Understanding your triggers gives you the power to prepare for them or avoid them altogether. You can also work to change your responses to unavoidable triggers. The third principle is emotional regulation. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring your emotions. It means managing their intensity and duration. Some emotions are helpful and should be felt fully. Other emotions are destructive and should be minimized. Emotional regulation is about becoming strategic about which emotions you cultivate and which you release. You can regulate emotions through breath control. Your breathing pattern directly affects your nervous system and emotional state. Slow, deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system and creates feelings of calm and control. Rapid, shallow breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system and creates feelings of stress and anxiety. You can also regulate emotions through body posture and movement. Your physical state influences your emotional state. Standing tall with your shoulders back creates confidence. Slumping and looking down creates depression. Moving your body changes your energy and can shift your emotional state almost instantly. The fourth principle is emotional choice. Once you understand that emotions are responses to thoughts and interpretations, you realize that you can choose different emotions by choosing different thoughts. This doesn't mean forcing fake positivity. It means consciously selecting interpretations and thoughts that create the emotional states you want to experience. If you want to feel confident, focus your thoughts on your past successes, your capabilities, and your potential. If you want to feel grateful, focus on what you appreciate about your life. If you want to feel motivated, Focus on your goals and the reasons you want to achieve them. You can literally think yourself into any emotional state. The fifth principle is emotional intelligence. This means understanding not just your own emotions but also the emotions of others. Emotional sovereignty includes the ability to navigate social situations without being derailed by other people's emotional states. You remain centered and grounded regardless of the emotional chaos around you. Emotional intelligence also means understanding that other people's emotions are their responsibility, not yours. You don't have to fix other people's feelings, take on their stress, or change your behavior to manage their emotions. You can be compassionate and supportive while maintaining your own emotional sovereignty. The ultimate goal of emotional sovereignty is emotional freedom. This means you're no longer at the mercy of whatever emotions happen to arise. You understand that emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent states. You can feel difficult emotions without being consumed by them. And you can cultivate positive emotions without depending on external circumstances to create them. When you achieve emotional sovereignty, you become emotionally antifragile. Instead of being broken down by difficult emotions, you're strengthened by them. You see every emotional experience as information and opportunity for growth. You maintain your center regardless of what emotional storms may arise around you or within you. Chapter 5. The Reprogramming Protocol. Your mind is running on software that was installed years ago, much of it without your conscious permission. This mental software consists of beliefs, assumptions, automatic responses, and habitual patterns that were formed when you were young, inexperienced, and operating with limited information. Most people spend their entire lives running on this outdated mental software, wondering why they keep getting the same results and experiencing the same limitations. The reprogramming protocol is about consciously upgrading your mental software. It's about identifying the limiting programs that are holding you back and installing new programs that support your goals, values, and vision for your life. This is not about positive thinking or wishful fantasizing. This is about systematic mental reconditioning based on how the brain actually learns and changes. The first step in reprogramming is conducting a mental audit. You need to identify what programs are currently running in your mind. Most of your mental programming operates below the level of conscious awareness. So this requires deliberate investigation. Look at the patterns in your life. What keeps repeating? What results do you consistently get? What challenges do you face over and over? Your external results are a reflection of your internal programming. If you consistently struggle with money, you have limiting beliefs about wealth, success, or your own worthiness. If you repeatedly have relationship problems, you have programs about trust, intimacy, or communication that need updating. If you procrastinate on important goals, you have programs about failure, perfectionism, or self-worth that are sabotaging your success. Pay attention to your automatic thoughts and responses. When you face a challenge, what's your first thought? When someone offers you an opportunity, what goes through your mind? When you think about your biggest goals, what internal voice speaks up? These automatic responses reveal your underlying programming. The second step is identifying the source of limiting programs. Most of your mental software was installed during childhood when your brain was in a highly programmable state. You accepted beliefs and assumptions from parents, teachers, peers, and society without questioning them. You interpreted early experiences and formed conclusions about yourself, other people, and how the world works. Common sources of limiting programs include being told you're not smart enough, not talented enough, or not worthy enough, experiencing failure, and concluding that you should avoid risks. Being criticized and developing perfectionist tendencies, observing your parents' struggles and forming beliefs about money, relationships, or success. Comparing yourself to others and feeling inadequate. The third step is questioning the validity of your current programs. Most limiting beliefs were formed with incomplete information and childish reasoning. Just because you believed something when you were 7 doesn't mean it's true now. Just because someone told you something about yourself doesn't make it accurate. Just because you failed at something once doesn't mean you'll always fail. Ask yourself, Is this belief actually true? Where did this belief come from? What evidence supports it? What evidence contradicts it? How is this belief serving me? What would be possible if I believed something different? This questioning process begins to loosen the grip of old programming and create space for new possibilities. The fourth step is designing new programs. Instead of just trying to eliminate limiting beliefs, you need to install empowering beliefs to replace them. Your mind needs direction, not just deletion. Design beliefs that support your goals, align with your values, and create the internal experience you want to have. New programs should be believable. You can't install beliefs that are too far from your current reality. Empowering. They should expand your possibilities and increase your confidence. Specific vague beliefs create vague results. Actionable. They should inspire specific behaviors and decisions. And emotionally compelling. They should create excitement and motivation. The fifth step is installation through repetition. Your brain changes through repetition and emotional intensity. New programs must be repeated consistently until they become automatic. This requires deliberate practice, not just occasional positive thinking. You need to actively think, visualize, and feel your new beliefs until they become natural mental habits. Use multiple installation methods. Mental rehearsal. Spend time each day visualizing yourself operating from your new beliefs. Affirmations. Repeat your new beliefs with emotion and conviction. Evidence collection. Look for proof that your new beliefs are true. Behavioral alignment. Act in ways that are consistent with your new beliefs. Environmental design. Surround yourself with reminders of your new programs. The sixth step is integration testing. As you install new programs, your old programs will resist. Your mind is designed to maintain consistency. So, it will create internal conflict when you try to change. This resistance is normal and temporary, but you need to persist through it. The old programming will try to reassert itself through doubt, fear, or sabotage. During the integration phase, pay attention to internal conflicts. When your new beliefs conflict with old patterns, choose to act from your new programming. When doubt arises, remind yourself why you're changing. When fear appears, move forward anyway. Each time you choose your new programming over your old patterns, you strengthen the new neural pathways and weaken the old ones. The reprogramming protocol is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. As you grow and evolve, you'll discover new limitations that need addressing and new possibilities that require different programming. Mental mastery means becoming skilled at identifying and updating your mental software throughout your life. Remember that this process takes time and patience. Your current programming was installed over years or decades, so don't expect to change it overnight. But with consistent practice and commitment, you can literally rewire your brain to support any reality you want to create. The question is not whether you can change your programming. The question is whether you will. Chapter 6. The Focus Weapon. In a world designed to fragment your attention, your ability to focus has become your most valuable asset. While most people's minds scatter like leaves in the wind, jumping from thought to thought, distraction to distraction, mental masters have developed their focus into a precision weapon that can cut through any challenge and achieve any goal. Focus is not just concentration. It's the ability to direct your mental energy exactly where you want it, when you want it, for as long as you want it. It's the difference between a flashlight that dimly illuminates everything and a laser that can cut through steel. Most people have flashlight minds scattered, weak, and ineffective. You're going to develop a laser mind, focused, powerful, and unstoppable. The modern world is engaged in a war for your attention. Every app, website, advertisement, and notification is scientifically designed to capture and fragment your focus. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day and has an attention span shorter than a goldfish. They live in a constant state of partial attention, never fully present to anything, never able to go deep on what matters most. But this crisis of attention creates an unprecedented opportunity. While everyone else's focus becomes weaker, yours can become stronger. While others become more distractible, you can become more concentrated. The person who can focus deeply in a world of shallow attention will dominate every field they enter. Understanding how focus works is the first step to mastering it. Focus is not a single skill. It's a complex system involving multiple mental processes. Selective attention allows you to choose what to focus on. Sustained attention allows you to maintain focus over time. Divided attention allows you to manage multiple tasks when necessary. Executive attention allows you to monitor and control your focus. Most people have never trained any of these attention systems. They let their focus be controlled by whatever is loudest, brightest, or most urgent. They operate in reactive mode, responding to external demands rather than directing their attention strategically. This makes them weak, scattered, and ineffective. The first principle of focus mastery is intentional direction. Every moment of every day, your attention is pointed somewhere. The question is, are you choosing where it points, or is something else choosing for you? Mental masters make deliberate decisions about where to place their focus and protect those decisions from interference. Start by taking inventory of where your attention goes naturally. What do you think about most often? What captures your focus without you deciding to focus on it? What pulls your attention away from important tasks? Most people have never done this basic assessment, which is why they remain victims of their attentional habits. The second principle is environmental design. Your environment has a massive impact on your ability to focus. A cluttered, noisy, distracting environment makes focus nearly impossible. A clean, organized, purposeful environment supports deep concentration. You cannot have a focused mind in a chaotic environment. Remove all unnecessary distractions from your workspace. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers. Create physical barriers between you and distractions. Your willpower is limited, but environmental design can make focus automatic. The third principle is single-tasking mastery. Multitasking is a myth that destroys focus and reduces performance. When you think you're multitasking, you're actually rapidly switching between tasks. And each switch carries a cognitive cost every time you shift focus. Your brain needs time to refocus. And during those transitions, errors increase and performance decreases. Mental masters understand that doing one thing at a time with complete focus produces better results than doing multiple things with divided attention. They batch similar tasks together, eliminate task switching, and give their full presence to whatever they're doing. The fourth principle is depth training. Your brain's ability to focus deeply is like a muscle. It grows stronger with training and weaker without use. Most people have trained their brains for shallow focus by constantly switching between quick, easy tasks. You need to retrain your brain for deep focus by regularly engaging in challenging, sustained mental work. Practice focusing on difficult tasks for progressively longer periods. Start with 25 minutes of uninterrupted focus. Then gradually increase to 90 minutes or more. Read complex books that require sustained attention. Engage in activities that demand deep concentration. The more you practice deep focus, the stronger your focus muscle becomes. The fifth principle is attention restoration. Focus is a finite resource that gets depleted with use. You cannot maintain peak focus for 16 hours straight any more than you can sprint at full speed for a marathon. You need to understand how to restore your attention through strategic rest and recovery. Nature is one of the most powerful attention restoration tools. Spending time in natural environments allows your directed attention to rest while your involuntary attention engages with the natural world. Even looking at pictures of nature can help restore focus. Other restoration activities include meditation, light exercise, and activities you find genuinely enjoyable. The sixth principle is flow state cultivation. Flow is the mental state where focus becomes effortless, where you become completely absorbed in what you're doing, where time seems to disappear and performance peaks. Flow occurs when challenge and skill are perfectly matched, when you have clear goals and immediate feedback. When self-consciousness disappears, you can learn to trigger flow states by carefully designing your challenges. If a task is too easy, you'll be bored and unfocused. If it's too difficult, you'll be anxious and scattered. Find the sweet spot where the challenge slightly exceeds your current skill level, pushing you to grow while remaining achievable. Focus mastery also requires understanding your natural rhythms. Your ability to focus fluctuates throughout the day based on circadian rhythms, energy levels, and mental fatigue. Most people have their peak focus periods in the morning with declining focus as the day progresses. Identify your personal peak focus times and protect them for your most important work. The ultimate goal is to develop what I call command focus. The ability to instantly direct your attention wherever you want it. Maintain it there for as long as necessary and switch between focused and relaxed states at will. This level of focus mastery gives you tremendous power over your mental experience and your results in life. When you master focus, everything else becomes easier. Learning accelerates because you can absorb information more efficiently. Problem solving improves because you can think more deeply. Productivity skyrockets because you can work with greater intensity. Relationships improve because you can be fully present with others. Peace of mind increases because you're no longer at the mercy of random thoughts and distractions. Chapter 7. Memory Architecture. Your memory is not just a storage system. It's the foundation of your intelligence, creativity, and decision-making ability. Everything you know, every skill you've developed, every insight you've gained is stored in your memory. Yet, most people treat their memory like a neglected warehouse, storing information randomly and retrieving it inefficiently. Memory masters understand that your memory is a system that can be optimized, organized, and enhanced to give you tremendous advantages in every area of life. The first misconception about memory is that it's fixed. You either have a good memory or you don't. This is completely false. Memory is a skill that can be dramatically improved through understanding and practice. The people with extraordinary memories are not born with special brains. They've learned specific techniques and principles that anyone can master. Memory is not a single system. It's multiple systems working together. Working memory holds information temporarily while you're processing it. Short-term memory stores information for minutes to hours. Long-term memory stores information permanently. Each system has different characteristics and can be optimized in different ways. Most people never learn how memory actually works. So they use ineffective strategies that make remembering difficult and forgetting inevitable. They try to memorize through repetition alone. They don't organize information logically. They don't create meaningful connections. And they don't review strategically. This makes learning frustrating and memory unreliable. The first principle of memory mastery is attention during encoding. You cannot remember what you never really noticed in the first place. Most people think they have memory problems when they actually have attention problems. They're trying to remember information they never fully focused on during the initial learning. When you want to remember something, give it your complete attention. Eliminate distractions, engage multiple senses, and actively process the information rather than passively exposing yourself to it. The quality of your attention during learning determines the strength of your memory. The second principle is meaningful connection. Your brain remembers information by connecting it to what you already know. Isolated facts are difficult to remember because they have no hooks to hang on to in your existing knowledge structure. But information that connects to your prior knowledge, personal experiences, or emotions becomes much easier to remember. Always ask yourself, how does this new information relate to what I already know? What does it remind me of? How can I connect it to my personal experience? What examples can I think of? The more connections you create, the stronger the memory becomes. The third principle is organization and structure. Random information is hard to remember. But organized information is easy to remember. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine that works best when information is structured logically. Create frameworks, categories, hierarchies, and systems for organizing what you learn. Use techniques like mind mapping to visualize relationships between ideas. Create outlines that show how concepts fit together. Group related information into categories. Look for patterns and principles that connect seemingly different pieces of information. The better organized your knowledge becomes, the easier it is to store and retrieve. The fourth principle is elaborative encoding. The more ways you process information, the more memory pathways you create and the easier it becomes to remember. Instead of just reading information once, you should elaborate on it, explain it in your own words, ask questions about it, and think about its implications. Teach what you learn to someone else, even if it's just explaining it to yourself out loud. Write summaries in your own words. Create examples and analogies. Connect new information to multiple areas of your life. The more you elaborate during learning, the stronger your memory becomes. The fifth principle is spaced repetition. Your brain is designed to forget information that doesn't seem important. If you learn something once and never review it, you'll forget most of it within days. But if you review information at strategic intervals, you can move it into long-term memory where it becomes permanent. The spacing effect shows that information reviewed at increasing intervals is remembered much better than information reviewed in mass practice. Review new information after 1 day, then after 3 days, then after 1 week, then after 2 weeks, then after 1 month. This pattern moves information from temporary to permanent storage. The sixth principle is retrieval practice. Most people think that rereading information is the best way to strengthen memory. But research shows that testing yourself, retrieving information from memory is much more effective. The act of retrieval strengthens memory pathways and reveals what you actually know versus what you think you know. Instead of just reviewing your notes, quiz yourself on the material. Use flashcards, practice tests, or simply try to recall information without looking at your notes. Make retrieval challenging by testing yourself in different contexts and formats. The harder you have to work to retrieve information, the stronger the memory becomes. The seventh principle is memory palace construction. This is one of the most powerful memory techniques ever developed. You use spatial memory, your ability to remember locations, to store information in an imaginary building or familiar place. You mentally walk through this memory palace and encounter the information you want to remember at specific locations. Choose a familiar place like your home, workplace, or a route you know well. Assign specific pieces of information to specific locations along a logical path through this place. Use vivid, unusual, or emotionally charged images to represent the information. When you want to recall the information, you mentally walk through your memory palace and encounter the images you've placed there. The eighth principle is emotional enhancement. Information that has emotional significance is remembered much better than neutral information. Your brain is designed to prioritize emotionally important information because it's more likely to be relevant for survival and success when learning new information. Try to connect it to your emotions, goals, and values. Ask yourself, why is this important to me? How will this help me achieve what I want? What would happen if I didn't know this? Create personal meaning and emotional investment in what you're learning. Memory mastery also involves understanding and overcoming common memory errors. Your memory is not a video recording. It's a reconstruction that can be influenced by your current knowledge, beliefs, and expectations. False memories can feel as real as true memories. Understanding these limitations helps you use your memory more effectively and avoid being misled by memory distortions. The ultimate goal is to develop what I call strategic memory. The ability to remember what you want to remember, forget what you want to forget, and access your stored knowledge efficiently when you need it. This level of memory mastery gives you tremendous advantages in learning, problem solving, and decision making. Chapter 8. Decision Mastery. Lele. Every moment of your life is shaped by the decisions you make. From the moment you wake up until you go to sleep, you make thousands of decisions, most of them unconsciously. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. Yet most people make decisions randomly, emotionally, or based on outdated mental programming. Decision mastery is about becoming a strategic decision maker who consistently chooses actions that align with your values and move you toward your goals. Most people are terrible decision makers because they've never learned how decisions actually work. They think decisions are mysterious or complicated. So, they rely on gut feelings, social pressure, or whatever seems easiest in the moment. They make important decisions when they're emotional, tired, or stressed. They don't have clear criteria for evaluating options. They don't consider long-term consequences. They don't learn from their decision outcomes. The first step in decision mastery is understanding that decisions are skills, not events. Good decision making is not about making perfect choices. It's about having reliable processes that consistently lead to better outcomes. You can learn to make better decisions by understanding how decisions work and practicing systematic decision-making approaches. Every decision involves several components. Identifying that a decision needs to be made. Generating possible options. Evaluating those options against your criteria. Making a choice. Implementing that choice, and learning from the results. Most people are weak at every step of this process, which is why their decisions often lead to regret, confusion, or unintended consequences. The first principle of decision mastery is clarity of values and priorities. You cannot make good decisions if you don't know what you're trying to achieve or what matters most to you. Your values are your decision-making criteria. They help you evaluate options and choose the alternative that best aligns with what's important to you. Most people have never clearly defined their values. So, they make decisions based on immediate emotions, social expectations, or unconscious programming. Take time to identify your core values. What principles do you want to guide your life? What outcomes do you want to create? What kind of person do you want to become? These values become your North Star for decision making. The second principle is systematic option generation. Most people consider only a few obvious options when making decisions, but better options often exist if you're willing to look for them. Creative option generation can turn difficult decisions into easy ones by finding alternatives that satisfy multiple criteria. Use structured brainstorming to generate options. Ask yourself, what would I do if money weren't an issue? What would I do if I weren't afraid? What would I do if I had unlimited time? What would someone I admire do in this situation? What creative combinations or unusual approaches might work? The more options you consider, the better your final choice is likely to be. The third principle is probabilistic thinking. Most decisions involve uncertainty. You don't know exactly what will happen if you choose a particular option. But you can estimate probabilities and expected outcomes to make better choices under uncertainty. Instead of thinking in absolutes, think in probabilities. What's the likelihood that this option will produce the outcome I want? What's the potential upside if things go well? What's the potential downside if things go poorly? What's the most likely scenario? This probabilistic thinking helps you make more rational decisions and avoid being paralyzed by uncertainty. The fourth principle is long-term perspective. Many bad decisions come from focusing too much on short-term consequences and ignoring long-term effects. What feels good in the moment may be harmful over time. What's difficult in the short term may be beneficial in the long term. Always ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years? What kind of precedent does this decision set? What habits or patterns am I reinforcing? What trajectory am I putting myself on? This long-term thinking helps you make decisions that serve your future self, not just your current emotions. The fifth principle is decision timing. When you make a decision is often as important as what you decide. Some decisions should be made quickly to capture opportunities or prevent problems from getting worse. Other decisions benefit from careful consideration and additional information. Learn to distinguish between reversible and irreversible decisions. Reversible decisions can be made quickly and adjusted later if needed. Irreversible decisions deserve more time and analysis. Also recognize that not making a decision is itself a decision, one that often leads to missed opportunities and default outcomes. The sixth principle is emotional regulation during decision-making. Strong emotions can hijack your decision-making process, leading you to choices you'll later regret. Fear can make you overly conservative. Anger can make you unnecessarily aggressive. Excitement can make you impulsive. Sadness can make you pessimistic. When facing important decisions, check your emotional state. If you're experiencing strong emotions, delay the decision if possible until you can think more clearly. Use the decision-making frameworks and criteria you've established in advance. Rather than deciding based on how you feel in the moment, the seventh principle is decision documentation and review. Most people make decisions and then never think about them again, missing valuable opportunities to improve their decision-making process. Keep track of important decisions, the reasoning behind them, and their outcomes. Regularly review your past decisions to identify patterns. What types of decisions do you consistently make well? What types give you trouble? What factors lead to good outcomes versus poor outcomes? What can you learn from your mistakes? This review process helps you continuously improve your decision-making skills. The eighth principle is commitment and follow-through. A decision is worthless if you don't implement it effectively. Many people make good decisions but fail to follow through with consistent action. Decision mastery includes the ability to commit to your choices and persist through obstacles. Once you make a decision, fully commit to it. Don't constantly second-guess yourself or look back with regret. Put systems in place to ensure you follow through. Anticipate obstacles and plan how you'll overcome them. Track your progress and adjust your implementation as needed while staying committed to the overall decision. Decision mastery also involves understanding cognitive biases that can distort your decision-making. Confirmation bias makes you seek information that supports what you already believe. Anchoring bias makes you rely too heavily on the first piece of information you receive. Availability bias makes you overweight recent or memorable events. The ultimate goal is to develop what I call strategic decision-making. The ability to consistently make choices that align with your values, serve your long-term interests, and move you toward your goals. This level of decision mastery gives you tremendous control over the direction and quality of your life. Chapter 9. Mental Resilience Engineering. Life will test your mind repeatedly. You will face failures, setbacks, rejections, losses, and unexpected challenges that threaten to break your spirit and destroy your progress. Most people crumble under these pressures because they've never developed true mental resilience. They see obstacles as evidence that they should give up, view setbacks as proof of their inadequacy, and allow temporary defeats to become permanent failures. Mental resilience is not about being tough or pretending that difficulties don't affect you. It's about developing the psychological strength to maintain your direction and composure regardless of what life throws at you. It's about bouncing back from adversity, stronger than before. It's about transforming obstacles into opportunities and using challenges as fuel for growth. Resilient people are not born different. They've learned to think differently about adversity. They understand that challenges are inevitable, temporary, and often beneficial. They see setbacks as information, not indictments. They view obstacles as training, not torture. They know that their response to adversity is more important than the adversity itself. The first component of mental resilience is cognitive flexibility. This is the ability to adjust your thinking when circumstances change, to find alternative perspectives when your original approach isn't working, and to generate creative solutions when faced with unexpected challenges. Rigid thinking creates fragility. Flexible thinking creates resilience. Most people have rigid mental models about how things should work. And when reality doesn't match their expectations, they become frustrated, angry, or defeated. Resilient people hold their plans lightly and their principles firmly. They're attached to their goals, but flexible about their methods. Practice looking at challenges from multiple angles. Ask yourself, what else could this mean? What opportunities might this create? What can I learn from this? How might this actually be helping me? What would someone I admire do in this situation? This mental flexibility helps you find ways forward when the obvious path is blocked. The second component is emotional endurance. Resilience requires the ability to experience difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You cannot avoid painful feelings when facing challenges, but you can learn to move through them effectively without being paralyzed or derailed. Understand that emotional pain is temporary even when it feels overwhelming. All emotions arise, peak, and fade away if you allow them to flow naturally. The problem comes when you resist painful emotions or get stuck in them. Practice experiencing difficult emotions fully without being consumed by them. Develop emotional processing skills. When you're experiencing intense emotions, acknowledge them, feel them in your body, and let them move through you. Don't try to think your way out of emotions. Instead, experience them completely and wait for them to naturally subside. The third component is meaning-making ability. Resilient people are skilled at finding meaning and purpose in their struggles. They understand that adversity can serve important functions. It builds character, develops skills, clarifies priorities, and reveals inner strength. They don't just endure difficulties, they extract value from them. When facing challenges, ask yourself, what is this experience teaching me? How is this making me stronger? What skills am I developing? What unnecessary things is this helping me eliminate? How might this difficulty be redirecting me towards something better? This meaning-making process transforms suffering into growth. The fourth component is social resilience. No one succeeds alone, and resilience is much easier when you have strong social support. Resilient people cultivate relationships with others who can provide encouragement, advice, assistance, and perspective during difficult times. Build a network of people who believe in you and want to see you succeed. These might include mentors, friends, family members, colleagues, or advisors. Don't try to handle major challenges completely alone. Seek input, support, and encouragement from others when you need it. The fifth component is physical resilience. Your mental resilience is closely connected to your physical state. When your body is weak, stressed, or exhausted, your mental resilience suffers. When your body is strong, energized, and healthy, your mental resilience improves. Maintain your physical foundation through regular exercise, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and stress management. During particularly challenging periods, pay extra attention to your physical needs. Your body provides the energy and stability that your mind needs to remain resilient. The sixth component is preparation and anti-fragility. Resilient people don't just recover from setbacks. They use adversity to become stronger. They understand that challenges are inevitable, so they prepare for them mentally and practically. They build systems and resources that help them handle difficulties effectively. Conduct pre-mortem analyses for your important goals. Imagine what could go wrong and plan how you would respond. Build redundancy into your plans so that single points of failure don't derail everything. Develop multiple skills, income sources, and relationships so you're not overly dependent on any one thing. The seventh component is recovery and renewal. Resilience requires the ability to recover from intense efforts and recharge your mental batteries. You cannot operate at maximum intensity indefinitely. You need periods of rest, reflection, and renewal to maintain your resilience over time. Build recovery practices into your routine. This might include meditation, time in nature, creative activities, exercise, or simply doing things you enjoy. Don't wait until you're completely exhausted to rest. Instead, proactively manage your energy to maintain consistent resilience. The eighth component is learning orientation. Resilient people treat every experience, especially difficult ones, as learning opportunities. They analyze their challenges to understand what worked, what didn't work, and what they can do differently next time. This learning orientation helps them continuously improve their resilience skills after facing any significant challenge. Conduct a thorough review. What did you handle well? What could you have done better? What did you learn about yourself? What strategies were most effective? How can you apply these lessons to future challenges? This systematic learning approach helps you become more resilient over time. Mental resilience is not a fixed trait. It's a set of skills that can be developed through practice and experience. The more challenges you face and overcome, the stronger your resilience becomes. Don't avoid difficulties. Instead, embrace them as opportunities to build your mental strength. The ultimate goal is to develop what I call antifragile resilience. Instead of just bouncing back from adversity, you use adversity to propel yourself to higher levels of success and fulfillment. You become someone who actually benefits from obstacles, who grows stronger under pressure, and who transforms every setback into a comeback. Chapter 10. The Habit Installation System. Your life is essentially the sum of your habits. Every day you perform hundreds of automatic behaviors that collectively determine your health, productivity, relationships, and success. Most people live at the mercy of their existing habits, many of which were formed unconsciously and don't serve their current goals. Habit masters understand that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. When you install the right habits, success becomes automatic. The power of habits lies in their automation. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it requires minimal willpower or decision-making energy to perform. This frees up your mental resources for more important tasks while ensuring that beneficial behaviors happen consistently regardless of your mood, motivation, or circumstances. Most people try to change their habits through willpower alone, which is why they fail repeatedly. Willpower is a limited resource that gets depleted throughout the day. Relying on willpower to maintain new behaviors is like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. It works for a short time, but eventually you have to give up. The habit installation system is based on how habits actually form in the brain. Every habit consists of three components: a cue that triggers the behavior, a routine that is the behavior itself, and a reward that reinforces the behavior. Understanding this habit loop allows you to engineer new habits systematically rather than hoping they'll stick through motivation alone. The first principle of habit installation is starting smaller than you think you should. Most people try to install habits that are too big, too complex, or too demanding for their current lifestyle. They want to exercise for an hour when they're currently sedentary, meditate for 30 minutes when they've never meditated, or read for 2 hours when they rarely read at all. Small habits have several advantages. They're easy to start, hard to skip, and build momentum quickly. Start with habits that take less than 2 minutes to perform. Instead of exercising for an hour, start with 5 push-ups. Instead of meditating for 30 minutes, start with 3 deep breaths. Instead of reading for 2 hours, start with 1 page. The second principle is habit stacking. This involves attaching your new habit to an existing habit, using the established habit as a cue for the new behavior. Since your existing habits are already automatic, they provide perfect triggers for new behaviors. The formula is: after I existing habit, I will new habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 3 minutes. After I sit down at my desk, I will review my goals. After I put on my pajamas, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for. This linking process helps new habits stick because they're connected to behaviors you already perform automatically. The third principle is environmental design. Your environment has an enormous impact on your behavior, often more than your conscious intentions. Instead of relying on willpower to perform good habits and avoid bad ones, design your environment to make good habits easier and bad habits harder for habits you want to install. Reduce friction by making them as easy as possible to perform. Put your exercise clothes next to your bed. Place healthy snacks at eye level in your refrigerator. Keep books in every room where you might want to read. The easier you make good habits, the more likely you are to perform them. For habits you want to eliminate, increase friction by making them harder to perform. Put junk food in hard-to-reach places. Log out of social media accounts. Remove apps from your phone's home screen. Use website blockers during work hours. The harder you make bad habits, the less likely you are to perform them. The fourth principle is reward optimization. Your brain is designed to repeat behaviors that are rewarded and abandon behaviors that aren't. Many beneficial habits don't provide immediate rewards, which is why they're difficult to maintain. You need to engineer immediate rewards for long-term beneficial behaviors. The reward doesn't have to be big or external. It can be as simple as checking off a box, giving yourself a mental pat on the back, or saying, "Good job," out loud. The key is that the reward happens immediately after the behavior, creating a positive association that makes you want to repeat the behavior. The fifth principle is identity alignment. The most sustainable habits are those that align with your desired identity rather than just your goals. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. Instead of trying to lose weight, become someone who eats healthy. Instead of trying to write a book, become a writer. Every time you perform a habit, you're casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. Each individual action might not seem significant, but over time these votes accumulate and create your identity. Ask yourself, what type of person would I need to become to achieve my goals? What habits would that person have? Then start performing those habits. The sixth principle is progressive overload. Once you've established a small habit and it becomes automatic, you can gradually increase its intensity, duration, or frequency. This allows you to build substantial habits over time without overwhelming yourself initially. After your 5 push-ups become automatic, increase to 10. After your 3 minute meditation becomes natural, extend to 5 minutes. After reading 1 page becomes routine, increase to 5 pages. This gradual progression prevents your brain from resisting the change while building substantial behaviors over time. The seventh principle is failure recovery. You will miss your habits. Sometimes life happens. You get sick, you travel, or you simply forget. Most people use a single missed day as an excuse to abandon their habit entirely. Habit masters understand that missing once is a mistake. But missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. Never miss twice in a row. If you miss your habit today, make it your top priority to perform it tomorrow. Don't try to make up for missed days by doing extra instead. Just get back to your normal routine as quickly as possible. Consistency over perfection is the key to long-term habit success. The eighth principle is systematic tracking. What gets measured gets managed. Tracking your habits provides clear feedback about your progress, creates accountability, and maintains motivation during difficult periods. The simple act of recording whether you performed a habit makes you more likely to do it. Use a habit tracker that's easy to update and visible to you daily. This might be a simple checklist, a smartphone app, or a calendar where you mark off successful days. The visual representation of your consistency becomes motivating and helps you maintain momentum. Habit installation is not about perfection. It's about creating systems that make success automatic. The goal is to build a collection of habits that collectively move you toward your goals without requiring constant willpower or decision-making. When your habits align with your values and desired outcomes, success becomes inevitable rather than accidental. The ultimate objective is to become someone whose daily habits automatically create the life they want to live. Instead of forcing yourself to do beneficial things through willpower, you become someone who naturally does beneficial things because that's who you are. Your habits become your identity and your identity drives your habits, creating a positive cycle that leads to extraordinary results. Chapter 11. The Mindset Forge. Your mindset is the lens through which you view reality. And that lens determines everything you see, feel, and experience. Most people inherit their mindsets from their environment, accepting limiting beliefs and constrictive worldviews without question. They operate from mindsets of scarcity, fear and limitation which create lives of struggle, mediocrity and unfulfilled potential. Mental masters understand that mindset is a choice and they deliberately forge mindsets that serve their highest aspirations. Mindset is more than positive thinking. It's a comprehensive belief system about how the world works, what's possible for you and what rules govern success and failure. Your mindset shapes what opportunities you notice, what risks you're willing to take, how you interpret setbacks, and what actions you consider possible. A limiting mindset makes you blind to possibilities that someone with an empowering mindset sees clearly. The most fundamental mindset distinction is between fixed and growth mindsets. A fixed mindset believes that abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits that cannot be significantly developed. People with fixed mindsets avoid challenges because failure might reveal their limitations. They give up quickly when faced with obstacles. They see effort as a sign of inadequacy. They feel threatened by others' success. A growth mindset believes that abilities can be developed through dedication, hard work, and learning from failure. People with growth mindsets embrace challenges as opportunities to improve. They persist through setbacks because they understand that struggle leads to growth. They see effort as the path to mastery. They find inspiration in others' success. But growth mindset is just the beginning. Mental masters develop what I call a mastery mindset that goes beyond believing you can improve to knowing that continuous improvement is your natural state. A mastery mindset sees every experience as education, every challenge as training, and every setback as valuable feedback. The first principle of mindset forging is conscious selection. Most people never choose their mindsets. They simply accept whatever beliefs were programmed into them during childhood. Mindset masters actively examine their current beliefs and consciously select beliefs that serve their goals and values. Examine your current mindsets about money, relationships, success, failure, your own capabilities, and other people's motives. Ask yourself, where did these beliefs come from? Are they serving me? What would be possible if I believed something different? What beliefs would someone who has what I want hold about these areas? The second principle is evidence management. Your mind is constantly looking for evidence to support your existing beliefs, and it finds what it looks for. If you believe that success is hard, you'll notice all the struggles and ignore the ease. If you believe that people are generally good, you'll notice kindness and overlook selfishness. Mindset masters actively manage their evidence. They deliberately look for proof that supports empowering beliefs and consciously reframe evidence that seems to support limiting beliefs. They understand that evidence is always filtered through interpretation, and they choose interpretations that serve their growth. The third principle is identity integration. Your mindset must be consistent with your identity, or internal conflict will undermine your efforts. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, adopting an abundance mindset will feel fake and temporary. You must evolve your identity along with your mindset. Start acting like someone who already has the mindset you want to develop. How would someone with an abundance mindset think about a financial challenge? How would someone with a growth mindset respond to criticism? How would someone with a mastery mindset handle a setback? Begin embodying these responses until they become natural. The fourth principle is environmental alignment. Your environment constantly reinforces certain mindsets while challenging others. If you're surrounded by people with limiting beliefs, those beliefs will seem normal and reasonable. If you're exposed to people with empowering beliefs, those beliefs will seem natural and attainable. Curate your information diet carefully. Read books, listen to podcasts, and watch videos that reinforce empowering mindsets. Spend time with people who have the mindsets you want to develop. Limit exposure to negative news, pessimistic people, and content that reinforces limiting beliefs. The fifth principle is stress testing. Mindsets are easy to maintain when life is going well, but they're truly tested during difficult times. A weak mindset crumbles under pressure, while a strong mindset becomes even more valuable during challenges. Deliberately expose your mindsets to stress to strengthen them. How does your growth mindset handle a major failure? How does your abundance mindset respond to financial pressure? How does your confidence mindset deal with criticism? Use these stress tests to identify weak points and reinforce your mindsets. The sixth principle is systematic reinforcement. Mindsets are strengthened through repetition and practice. You must actively reinforce empowering mindsets through daily mental practices, or they'll gradually weaken and be replaced by default limiting beliefs. Develop daily mindset practices such as affirmations, visualizations, journaling, or meditation that reinforce your chosen beliefs. Review inspiring content regularly. Celebrate evidence that supports empowering mindsets. Make mindset reinforcement a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. The seventh principle is paradox integration. Advanced mindsets can hold apparently contradictory beliefs simultaneously. You can be confident while remaining humble. You can be optimistic while being realistic. You can be ambitious while being content. This paradox integration prevents your mindsets from becoming rigid or extreme. Learn to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. Understand that confidence and humility both serve important functions. Recognize that optimism and realism can coexist. Develop nuanced mindsets that adapt to different situations while maintaining core empowering beliefs. The eighth principle is continuous evolution. Your mindsets should evolve as you grow and face new challenges. A mindset that serves you at one stage of development might limit you at the next stage. Mindset masters regularly examine and update their beliefs to ensure they support continued growth. Conduct regular mindset audits. What beliefs served you in the past but might be limiting you now? What new challenges require new ways of thinking? What mindsets do you need to develop for the next level of your goals? Be willing to outgrow old mindsets when they no longer serve you. Mindset forging is not about adopting positive platitudes or denying reality. It's about consciously choosing belief systems that expand your possibilities, increase your resilience, and align with your highest aspirations. Your mindset becomes the foundation upon which all other mental skills are built. When you master mindset forging, you gain the ability to see opportunities where others see problems, to find strength where others find weakness, and to create possibilities where others see limitations. You become someone who shapes reality through the power of perspective rather than someone who is shaped by circumstances. Chapter 12. Mental Energy Management. Your mental energy is your most precious resource. Yet most people waste it carelessly on activities, thoughts, and emotions that drain rather than energize them. They operate in a constant state of mental fatigue, wondering why they feel overwhelmed, unfocused, and unable to perform at their best. Mental energy masters understand that managing their mental energy is as important as managing their time, money, or physical health. Mental energy is different from physical energy. You can be physically rested but mentally exhausted, or physically tired but mentally sharp. Mental energy is depleted by decision-making, focus-intensive work, emotional processing, and resisting temptations. It's restored by rest, renewal activities, and operating within your natural rhythms and strengths. Most people have never mapped their mental energy patterns. So they schedule demanding tasks when their energy is low and waste their peak energy periods on trivial activities. They don't understand what drains their mental energy or what restores it. They operate reactively, responding to whatever demands their attention rather than strategically managing their mental resources. The first principle of mental energy management is energy awareness. You must understand your personal energy patterns when you have the most mental energy. What activities energize you versus drain you, and how different factors affect your mental state throughout the day. Track your mental energy levels for at least a week. Rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10 every few hours. Notice what activities preceded high energy periods and what preceded low energy periods. Identify your peak performance windows and your natural recovery times. This data becomes the foundation for strategic energy management. The second principle is energy allocation. Once you understand your energy patterns, you can strategically allocate your mental energy to your most important activities. Schedule your most challenging, creative, or important work during your peak energy periods. Save routine, administrative, or less demanding tasks for your lower energy times. Most people do the opposite. They waste their peak energy on email, meetings, and busy work. Then try to do their most important work when they're mentally exhausted. This backwards approach guarantees suboptimal performance and chronic frustration. The third principle is energy protection. Your mental energy is constantly under attack from distractions, interruptions, emotional drains, and energy vampires. You must actively protect your mental energy from these threats just as you would protect any valuable resource. Eliminate unnecessary decisions by creating routines and systems. Decision fatigue is one of the biggest drains on mental energy. So, automate as many decisions as possible. Create templates, checklists, and standard procedures for recurring situations. Reduce your options in areas that don't matter so you can focus your decision-making energy on areas that do. The fourth principle is energy restoration. Mental energy is not unlimited. It must be regularly restored through specific activities and practices. Different people restore mental energy in different ways. So you must identify what works for you personally. Common energy restoration activities include time in nature, physical exercise, meditation, creative hobbies, social connection with positive people, reading, listening to music, and engaging in activities you find intrinsically enjoyable. The key is that these activities feel restorative rather than demanding. The fifth principle is energy optimization through strengths alignment. You have more mental energy available when you're working within your natural strengths and talents. Activities that align with your strengths feel energizing, while activities that go against your strengths feel draining, even if you can perform them competently. Identify your core strengths and find ways to use them more frequently. Delegate or eliminate activities that drain your energy unnecessarily. Structure your work and life to maximize time spent in your strength zones. This doesn't mean avoiding all challenging activities, but it means being strategic about where you spend your mental energy. The sixth principle is environmental energy design. Your environment has a massive impact on your mental energy levels. Cluttered, noisy, or chaotic environments drain mental energy. Clean, organized, and purposeful environments support mental energy. You can engineer your environment to naturally maintain higher energy levels. Design workspaces that energize rather than drain you. Use lighting that supports alertness during work periods and relaxation during rest periods. Minimize visual and auditory distractions. Create physical spaces that support the mental states you want to maintain. The seventh principle is emotional energy management. Emotions have a significant impact on mental energy. Negative emotions like anger, anxiety, and resentment drain mental energy rapidly. Positive emotions like excitement, gratitude, and love generate mental energy. Unresolved emotional issues create constant energy drains. Process and resolve emotional issues rather than suppressing or ignoring them. Practice emotional regulation techniques to prevent energy-draining emotional states. Cultivate positive emotions through gratitude practices, meaningful relationships, and engaging in activities you value. The eighth principle is recovery and renewal cycles. Mental energy follows natural cycles that must be respected for optimal performance. You cannot maintain peak mental energy indefinitely any more than you can sprint continuously. You need regular recovery periods to maintain sustainable high performance. Build recovery into your daily, weekly, and seasonal schedules. Take short breaks every hour during intensive mental work. Schedule one full day per week for mental restoration. Plan longer recovery periods quarterly or annually. Honor these recovery periods as seriously as you honor your work commitments. The ninth principle is energy investment strategy. Some activities require mental energy initially but generate more energy over time. Exercise might feel draining in the moment but increases overall energy levels. Learning new skills requires initial energy investment but makes future work easier and more energizing. Think strategically about energy investments. What skills, systems, or habits could you develop that would reduce future energy demands? What short-term energy investments would pay long-term energy dividends? Make conscious choices to invest mental energy in activities that compound over time. Mental energy management is not about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about understanding that your mental energy is finite and precious and using it strategically to achieve maximum impact with minimum waste. When you master mental energy management, you'll be amazed at how much more you can accomplish while feeling less stressed and more satisfied. The ultimate goal is to operate from a state of consistent mental vitality rather than chronic mental fatigue. You want to feel energized by your work rather than drained by it. Excited about your challenges rather than overwhelmed by them and confident in your ability to handle whatever demands arise. Chapter 13. Cognitive Performance Optimization. Your brain is the most sophisticated processing system in the known universe, capable of extraordinary feats of creativity, analysis, memory, and problem solving. Yet, most people operate at a fraction of their cognitive potential because they've never learned how to optimize their brain's performance. They accept mental fog, slow thinking, and poor memory as normal when these are actually signs of an unoptimized cognitive system. Cognitive optimization is about maximizing your brain's processing power, speed, and efficiency. It's about creating the mental clarity, focus, and sharpness that allow you to think at your highest level consistently. When your cognitive performance is optimized, complex problems become easier to solve, learning happens faster, creativity flows more freely, and mental fatigue becomes rare. The first principle of cognitive optimization is understanding neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. It's constantly changing based on how you use it. Every thought you think, every skill you practice, and every experience you have literally rewires your brain. This means you can deliberately improve your cognitive abilities through specific practices and lifestyle choices. Most people have been told that intelligence is fixed, that you're either smart or you're not. This is completely false. Intelligence is malleable, and cognitive abilities can be developed throughout your entire life. The key is understanding how to train your brain effectively. The second principle is mental load management. Your brain has limited processing capacity at any given moment. When you try to hold too much information in your working memory simultaneously, performance degrades rapidly. Cognitive optimization involves managing your mental load to maintain peak performance. Use external systems to reduce cognitive load. Write things down instead of trying to remember everything. Create checklists and procedures for complex tasks. Break large problems into smaller components. Use tools and technologies that augment your cognitive abilities rather than competing with them. The third principle is attention training. Your ability to focus and direct your attention is the foundation of all cognitive performance. When your attention is scattered, weak, or uncontrolled, every other cognitive function suffers. When your attention is sharp, sustained, and directed, every cognitive ability improves. Practice focused attention daily through meditation, deep work sessions, or other concentration exercises. Train your ability to sustain attention for progressively longer periods. Develop the skill of selective attention, choosing what to focus on and what to ignore. Learn to switch between focused attention and diffuse attention as needed. The fourth principle is cognitive cross-training. Just as physical cross-training develops overall fitness, cognitive cross-training develops overall mental ability. Different types of mental activities strengthen different cognitive functions, and a well-rounded cognitive training program addresses multiple areas. Engage in activities that challenge different cognitive abilities. Working memory exercises, processing speed training, pattern recognition games, creative problem solving, logical reasoning puzzles, and learning new skills. The key is variety and progressive challenge. The fifth principle is biological optimization. Your brain is a physical organ that requires specific nutrients, adequate sleep, regular exercise, and proper hydration to function optimally. Cognitive performance is directly affected by your physical health and lifestyle choices. Prioritize sleep quality and quantity. Your brain consolidates memories and clears metabolic waste during sleep. Even mild sleep deprivation significantly impairs cognitive performance. Exercise regularly to increase blood flow to the brain and promote neuroplasticity. Eat a brain-healthy diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and other nutrients that support cognitive function. The sixth principle is stress management. Chronic stress is one of the biggest enemies of cognitive performance. Stress hormones like cortisol impair memory formation, reduce cognitive flexibility, and make it difficult to think clearly. Acute stress can sometimes enhance performance, but chronic stress always degrades it. Develop effective stress management techniques such as meditation, deep breathing, exercise, or other practices that activate your relaxation response. Learn to distinguish between productive stress that enhances performance and destructive stress that impairs it. Create systems that help you manage stress before it becomes overwhelming. The seventh principle is learning optimization. The way you learn new information dramatically affects how well you retain and use that information. Most people use ineffective learning strategies that waste time and produce poor results. Cognitive optimization includes mastering the science of effective learning. Use spaced repetition to move information into long-term memory. Practice active recall rather than passive review. Interl different types of problems rather than practicing the same type repeatedly. Connect new information to existing knowledge. Use multiple senses and modalities when learning. Test yourself frequently to identify gaps in understanding. The eighth principle is cognitive flexibility training. Cognitive flexibility is the ability to switch between different mental tasks. Consider multiple perspectives simultaneously and adapt your thinking when circumstances change. This skill is crucial for problem solving, creativity, and adapting to new situations. Practice switching between different types of mental tasks. Train yourself to see problems from multiple perspectives. Challenge your assumptions and consider alternative explanations. Engage in activities that require mental flexibility such as improvisation, brainstorming, or learning new languages. The ninth principle is metacognition development. Metacognition is thinking awareness of your own cognitive processes. When you understand how your mind works, you can use it more effectively. Metacognition allows you to recognize when you're thinking clearly versus when your thinking is impaired. Pay attention to your thinking patterns. Notice when you're in a state of high cognitive performance versus when your thinking feels sluggish or unclear. Identify what factors contribute to clear thinking versus confused thinking. Develop the ability to step back and evaluate the quality of your own thoughts and reasoning. The 10th principle is systematic experimentation. Everyone's brain is slightly different, and what optimizes cognitive performance for one person might not work for another. The most effective approach is to systematically experiment with different techniques and track your results. Try different cognitive enhancement techniques and measure their effects on your performance. Keep a cognitive performance journal noting your mental clarity, focus, creativity, and problem-solving ability under different conditions. Use objective measures when possible, such as reaction time tests or working memory assessments. Cognitive optimization is not about becoming superhuman. It's about consistently operating closer to your true cognitive potential. When you optimize your cognitive performance, mental work becomes more enjoyable, learning becomes faster and easier, and you develop confidence in your ability to handle complex intellectual challenges. The ultimate goal is to create a state of consistent mental clarity and sharpness that allows you to think at your best whenever you need to. Instead of accepting mental fog, confusion, or slow thinking as inevitable, you develop the skills and systems that maintain peak cognitive performance throughout your life. Chapter 14. Integration and Real-World Application. Knowledge without application is worthless. You can understand every principle of mental mastery intellectually, but until you integrate these skills into your daily life and apply them to real challenges, they remain theoretical concepts rather than practical tools. Integration is where mental mastery transforms from an interesting idea into a life-changing reality. Most people consume self-improvement content passively, reading books or listening to audiobooks without ever implementing what they learn. They enjoy the inspiration and insights but never do the hard work of actually changing their mental patterns. They understand the concepts but don't develop the competencies. This passive consumption creates the illusion of progress without producing actual results. Mental mastery requires active integration. You must deliberately practice new skills, consciously apply new frameworks, and systematically implement new approaches until they become natural and automatic. Integration is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process of weaving new mental skills into the fabric of your daily life. The first principle of integration is gradual implementation. Don't try to apply every mental mastery technique simultaneously. This leads to overwhelm, inconsistency, and abandonment. Instead, Focus on mastering one skill at a time until it becomes automatic. Then add the next skill. Start with the mental skill that would have the biggest impact on your current challenges. If you struggle with focus, begin with attention training. If you're overwhelmed by negative emotions, start with emotional regulation. If you make poor decisions, focus on decision mastery. Master one foundation skill before building additional capabilities. The second principle is contextual application. Abstract mental skills become powerful when applied to specific real-world situations. Take each mental mastery principle and identify exactly how you'll use it in your personal and professional life. How will you apply thought architecture to your career challenges? How will you use emotional sovereignty in your relationships? How will you implement decision mastery in your financial choices? How will you use focus weaponization in your daily work? Make each principle practical and specific to your life circumstances. The third principle is systematic practice. Mental skills require deliberate practice to develop, just like physical skills. You cannot expect to master emotional regulation by reading about it once. You must practice it repeatedly in increasingly challenging situations. Create practice schedules for your mental skills. Set aside specific time each day for mental training. Use daily situations as practice opportunities for applying new skills. Track your progress and identify areas that need additional development. Treat mental skill development as seriously as you would treat physical fitness training. The fourth principle is measurement and feedback. You cannot improve what you don't measure. Develop ways to track your progress in applying mental mastery skills so you can see what's working and what needs adjustment. Keep a mental mastery journal where you record your daily practice. Note successes and challenges, and reflect on your progress. Use objective measures when possible, such as tracking your ability to maintain focus for specific periods or measuring how quickly you recover from emotional setbacks. Regular measurement keeps you accountable and motivated. The fifth principle is environmental integration. Your environment should support your mental mastery practice rather than undermining it. Design your physical and social environment to make good mental habits easier and poor mental habits harder. Create physical spaces that support mental clarity and focus. Surround yourself with people who reinforce empowering mindsets and challenge limiting beliefs. Limit exposure to environmental factors that drain mental energy or promote unconscious thinking. Make your environment an ally in your mental mastery journey. The sixth principle is challenge progression. As your mental skills develop, you need increasingly challenging situations to continue growing. Easy situations don't build mental strength. You need appropriate levels of challenge to stretch your capabilities and build resilience. Gradually expose yourself to more challenging applications of your mental skills. If you've mastered emotional regulation in low-stress situations, practice it during high-stress periods. If you've developed focus in quiet environments, train it in distracting conditions. Progressive challenge ensures continued growth and prevents stagnation. The seventh principle is integration across life domains. Mental mastery skills should be applied across all areas of your life. Work, relationships, health, finances, and personal growth. Each domain provides different opportunities to practice and refine your mental skills. Identify how each mental skill applies to different life areas. How does decision mastery improve your health choices? How does emotional sovereignty enhance your relationships? How does focus weaponization advance your career? How does mental resilience support your personal goals? Integration across domains creates comprehensive mental mastery. The eighth principle is teaching and sharing. One of the best ways to deepen your understanding and integration of mental mastery skills is to teach them to others. When you explain concepts to others, you identify gaps in your own understanding and strengthen your mastery. Look for opportunities to share mental mastery principles with family, friends, or colleagues. Mentor others who are interested in developing mental skills. Write about your experiences or speak about your journey. Teaching forces you to organize your knowledge and apply it in new contexts. The ninth principle is continuous refinement. Mental mastery is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey of continuous improvement. As you apply mental skills in real-world situations, you'll discover nuances, exceptions, and advanced applications that require ongoing refinement. Regularly review and update your mental mastery practices. What techniques are working well? What approaches need modification? What new skills do you need to develop for emerging challenges? Stay curious and adaptable in your mental mastery journey. The 10th principle is patience with the process. Mental mastery develops gradually over time, not overnight. There will be setbacks, failures, and periods where progress seems slow. This is normal and expected. Long-term success requires patience, persistence, and faith. In the process, don't expect perfection or immediate transformation. Instead, focus on consistent practice and gradual improvement. Celebrate small victories and learn from setbacks. Trust that daily practice and persistent application will produce significant results over time. Integration transforms mental mastery from an intellectual exercise into a practical life skill. When you successfully integrate these skills into your daily life, you develop unshakable confidence in your ability to handle any mental challenge, overcome any obstacle, and create any reality you choose. The goal is not to think about mental mastery. It's to live it. You want these skills to become so natural and automatic that you use them without conscious effort. You want mental mastery to become part of who you are, not just something you know about. Chapter 15. The Mental Master. You stand at a crossroads. Behind you lies the person. You used to be someone who was controlled by their thoughts, driven by their emotions, and limited by their beliefs. Ahead of you lies the person you can become. Someone who owns their mind completely, who directs their mental experience with precision, and who creates their reality through the power of conscious choice. The journey to mental mastery is not easy. It requires dedication, persistence, and the courage to challenge everything you thought you knew about how your mind works. It demands that you take responsibility for your mental experience. Rather than blaming external circumstances, it asks you to develop skills that most people don't even know exist, but the rewards are extraordinary. When you achieve true mental mastery, you gain powers that seem almost supernatural to those who don't understand how the mind works. You can maintain unshakable calm in the midst of chaos. You can see opportunities where others see only problems. You can stay focused on your goals while others are distracted by every passing thought and emotion. Mental masters are not born. They are forged through deliberate practice, conscious choice, and unwavering commitment to growth. They understand that the mind is not fixed, but malleable, not limited, but limitless, not a force that controls them, but a tool they can master. They have learned to think about thinking, to feel about feeling, and to choose about choosing. The characteristics of a mental master are unmistakable. They possess thought sovereignty, able to observe their thoughts objectively, choose which thoughts to develop, and direct their thinking toward desired outcomes. They have emotional mastery, experiencing the full range of human emotions without being controlled by them. Using emotions as information rather than allowing emotions to use them as puppets. Mental masters demonstrate decision excellence, making choices based on clear values and long-term consequences rather than immediate impulses or social pressure. They exhibit focus mastery, able to concentrate their attention like a laser beam on whatever matters most while filtering out distractions and irrelevant information. They show memory optimization, learning faster and retaining information longer through systematic application of memory principles. They display resilience, mastery, bouncing back from setbacks stronger than before and using adversity as fuel for growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. Mental masters maintain habit mastery, installing beneficial behaviors that run automatically while eliminating destructive patterns that waste energy and create problems. They practice energy management, operating from a state of mental vitality rather than chronic fatigue. By strategically allocating their mental resources, they embody mindset mastery, holding empowering beliefs that expand possibilities and create success rather than limiting beliefs that constrain potential and justify failure. They demonstrate integration mastery, applying mental skills naturally across all areas of life rather than keeping them as abstract concepts. But perhaps most importantly, mental masters possess metacognitive awareness. They are conscious of their own consciousness. They understand how their mind works, recognize when it's working optimally versus when it's impaired, and know how to adjust their mental state to meet any challenge. This level of mental mastery creates a life of extraordinary freedom and power. Instead of being a victim of random thoughts and emotions, you become the conscious director of your mental experience. Instead of reacting to life's challenges from fear and limitation, you respond from confidence and capability. Instead of hoping that things will work out, you know that you have the mental tools to make them work out. Mental mastery is not about perfection. It's about progression. You will still face challenges, experience setbacks, and make mistakes. But your relationship to these experiences will be fundamentally different. Instead of seeing problems as evidence of your inadequacy, you'll see them as opportunities to apply your mental skills. Instead of being overwhelmed by difficulties, you'll be energized by the chance to grow stronger. The journey of mental mastery never truly ends because there are always deeper levels of skill to develop, new challenges to apply, or abilities to and greater heights of human potential to explore. Mental masters understand that mastery is not a destination but a way of traveling through life with curiosity, capability, and confidence. As you continue this journey, remember that every moment offers an opportunity to practice mental mastery. Every challenge is a chance to apply what you've learned. Every setback is an opportunity to demonstrate resilience. Every success is evidence that your mind is truly under your control. The person who began this journey and the person reading these words now are not the same. You have gained knowledge, developed skills, and most importantly changed your relationship to your own mind. You now understand that thoughts are events, not commands. Emotions are experiences, not instructions. Beliefs are choices, not facts. You have the tools to own your mind completely. The question now is not whether you can transform your mental experience. The question is whether you will commit to the daily practice, persistent application, and continuous growth that mental mastery requires. The world needs people who have mastered their minds. In a time when most people are controlled by fear, driven by impulse, and limited by unconscious programming, mental masters stand as beacons of what's possible when human consciousness is developed to its full potential. You have the power to become someone who thinks clearly when others are confused, who remains calm when others are panicked, who sees solutions when others see only problems, and who creates possibilities when others accept limitations. The choice is yours. You can return to your old patterns of unconscious thinking and reactive living, or you can step forward into the life of mental mastery that awaits you. You can remain a prisoner of your own mind, or you can become the master of your mental domain. Mental mastery is not just about improving your own life, although it will certainly do that. It's about becoming the kind of person who can contribute something meaningful to the world, who can help others see what's possible, and who can live as an example of human potential fully realized. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess. The question is, will you master it or will it master you? The answer lies in the choices you make from this moment forward. Choose mastery. Choose growth. Choose to own your mind completely. The mental master you can become is waiting for you to step into that identity. The only thing standing between who you are now and who you can become is the decision to commit fully to this path. And the discipline to walk it every